Welcome. So in the next few series, I really want to go over some things about conscious, empowered childbirth. And so if you want to follow along on my Substack, there is a whole series called Rethinking Modern Birth. You can actually just find it under the birth tab of my Substack. And if you are not listening on YouTube, there's a podcast. If you're not listening on a podcast service, there's a YouTube of this. So you can see either way. One of the things that really, so when I first had my kids, when I first was faced with birth, I was really still a baby. I was 18 when I had my first child. But even then, I intuitively knew that the way that modern society handles birth is like weird and wrong, and just it did not resonate with me. As soon as I got pregnant, I was like mortified at the idea, like I have to find an OB, like a doctor. I have to give birth in a hospital with like men attending me. This just does not seem right. And I don't know where that came from. That was just like how I felt about it from the get-go. When I was like 17, I was already researching midwives, and I found some. I had a birth center birth when I was 18, which was definitely the best of both worlds at the time. I had no idea that such a thing of like free birth or home birth really even existed. And 18-year-old me was scared of a lot of things. But a birthing center definitely seemed like light years better than birthing in the hospital. And so, even then I was looking for a more empowered version of childbirth, a version where I could maintain my autonomy as a human being and be allowed to emerge into motherhood the way that felt right to me. And so rethinking the way we do birth in society has been a theme in my life for over half of it now. And so how would we even cultivate such a thing as an empowered birth, especially when it seems like the entirety of our culture is saying, no, you're supposed to go to the hospital. Birth is something that we all experience, right? Every human being on earth currently has either been birthed into being or has themselves given birth, attending a birth. All humans on earth throughout time are connected. Birth is this ancient rite of passage. And so something that has become something that is integral to the survival of our species, it's become something that is medically managed and compartmentalized and very, very steeped in fear and anxiety, apprehension. Women tend to look to modern obstetric care to deliver them, pun intended, from the unknowns of birth, right? And this is because we've been so disconnected from the true nature and abilities of our human bodies. The intense, primal, transformational experience of unfettered birth is something that so many women today miss out on. It's really very tragic because the hormonal cascade and the beautiful emergence of oxytocin and love that shows up in an unhindered, unfettered birth experience. It's something that is unparalleled. No drug can hit that. It's so transformative and beautiful. And very few women today experience that. And so there is something like profoundly, deeply disconnected from the way that we come into motherhood. It's a disconnect between ourselves and our babies. And it's also a disconnect between ourselves and our lineage, our ancestry, our like matrilineal connection to the ages. So being aware that you have choices is one of the first keys to making sure that you can have a calm and confident birth experience, an autonomous, empowered birth. While I am personally a huge fan of home birth, specifically free birth, I recognize that that's not available for everyone all the time in all situations. And it's important to remember that no matter where or how you're birthing, you always retain the power of choice. Even in unexpected circumstances or stress, you can choose how to react, how to express yourself, and choose what actions to take in order to expand into the reality that you want to experience, that you want your baby to emerge in. So much of a conscious, empowering birth experience is essentially rooted in practicing mindfulness as a lifestyle, truly knowing yourself, taking responsibility for your own choices and decisions, and not just relying on others, even expert others, to tell you what you should do or have to do. Your body and your mind are exquisitely intertwined with your babies from that first flicker of life within. So being mindful and responsible for the choices that you're making is so important to having an emotionally positive birth experience. No one can empower you. No one can give you empowerment, right? You must decide to claim the power that is already there by virtue of you being alive and being pregnant and being here. Birth is a soul journey, both for the baby and for the mother, right? Like when your baby is born, you yourself are reborn as a mother, and it is a very profound rebirth that does not get a lot of traction or airtime in our society. So in the next few things that we're going to be talking about, episodes, podcasts, we're going to be talking about all the different ways that we can reclaim our power and have a more sovereign, conscious birth experience. So it doesn't matter if you're having your first baby or your seventh. It doesn't matter if you're facing a highly managed surgical birth or you're planning on an assisted home birth. It doesn't matter if you've had affirming experiences or disappointing experiences with your body in the past. One of the things that we can choose to rethink is that our body is actually on our side. It's our friend. It loves us, and it's part of our collaborative co-creation. I do not ascribe to the idea that we are electrical meat suits and that our soul or our consciousness is the only thing that matters. I believe that we are in a collaborative partnership with our physical body elemental. And so the mind and body, the concept of embodiment, bringing ourselves down, like the heart-brain harmony, the heart-brain coherence that we can create when we bring our consciousness down into our body. That is just one of the ways that we can be more healed, inspired, and be able to fully embrace our journey of labor, birth, and motherhood. So rethinking birth really is, it's a door that opens a whole new paradigm of awareness about our identity, our priorities, and our role as parents. So many people want to put motherhood as something that's martyrdom, or, you know, this, you're just a mom, or you're giving up a career. And I want to propose this radical reframe, because it doesn't have to be that way. And in fact, it's supremely misleading to think about motherhood as a detriment to our sense of self, our identity, the fullness of our journey as women. So it's really important to be aware that childbirth, that the way we approach pregnancy, birth, labor, even the early weeks of mothering, the golden hour, the first 40 days, this is an opportunity for immense personal growth. It's something that touches every aspect of our existence, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual embodiment awareness. So I want you to be able to have a wonderful birth, however that is defined for you. But if you don't realize that you have choices, you really don't have many choices. So there are such rewarding possibilities from a holistic, natural approach to childbirth, to living, to wellness. And I really want to empower people to be able to seek their own answers instead of just listening to whatever expert is most prominent, including myself. I'm only just one person who's sharing my experience of having 5 babies over the past a lot of years. So there's really not, I don't want to sink into the disconnection of arguing about the right or best way to do things, but I do think that there is a chasm of opportunity where people are not aware of all the options that they have. They are not fully feeling allowed or empowered to explore all the different avenues that they can take, because nobody can tell you the right and best way to become a mother, to embrace childbirth. But there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of prepare you for these are some of the facts, and these are some of the options. And if you don't know your options, you don't have any. Also, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So this is very critically important to be aware of. So no matter what path that you take, I believe that we share this crucial common ground of wanting better for ourselves and for our children, for our families, for our lives. So we know that we deserve more than what we've been conditioned to quietly accept by our modern society. Seeking knowledge, seeking answers, and cultivating a large amount of belief and trust in ourselves, it paves the way for a way of entering motherhood with less judgment and more choice, more autonomy, more ability to connect with the truth of ourselves. We all want to be treated with dignity, with basic respect, with compassion, with empathy. And that truth is across time and across humanity. So hopefully this is resonating with you, and I would love it if you subscribe and listen to more of the things that we're going to be talking about over the next few videos and podcasts. I'm also offering a live webinar on the 21st of August. It's called Navigating Birth in the System, because even if you're planning a home birth or if you're planning a hospital birth, you might not be happy about the choices that you perceive that you have access to. And I want to offer a way to help you expand your thinking about how you can do it better and more on your terms, with more choice and more freedom, no matter where or how you're giving birth. While I am a huge advocate for home birth, I'm really only, I only attend home births. I only believe in free birth for myself. I know that in the current reality, in the current world that we live in, I would say 90+% of women either don't believe they have access to those options or don't feel safe or trusting of those options. And yet there's so much that we can do to shift their experience of birth. So if you're birthing anywhere that's maybe not exactly what you want, you'll benefit from this workshop, Navigating Birth in the System. So check that out on my website at rethinkbirth.com, and stay open to hearing about more ways that you can rethink your experience of birth, motherhood, and sovereignty. Thank you for listening.